Hello class, I chose to mix my topic with a modern area and one of the topics that we studied from the course as well. For that area I chose classical Greek art and I chose how it impacted the golden era of bodybuilding. For this first picture I have the Riache warrior, and then for the modern picture I have bodybuilder Frank Zane. The photographs are from very different times, as you can see, from 460 BC to 450 BCE, and 1968 is the one from Frank Zane. The two similarities I have from this picture is that they both have the tilted hips, and or the weight shift, I should say rather, or as we refer to it in class, contrapposto. And they both have the tilt in the hips, and they also both lead with their left leg. And the reason why I can infer that this picture from 1968 is affected by the Greek era, the classical Greek era, was because I have this quote from the website bodybuilding.com. It says, Frank Zane is considered by many to have been the most Greek-like bodybuilder, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that the Zane experience seminars are held at his personal gym in his home atop a Greek monikered mount. So not only do people consider him Greek-like as far as his physique and everything, but his own gym where he holds seminars for his clients or everything is also mimicking Greek architecture. So that's how I know he was very inspired by that. Um, he had a very big focus on the shoulder to waist ratio and having that balanced overall look. Both of these eras are considered the peaks of their time. For the Greeks, it was the early and high classical period. For the bodybuilders, it was considered the golden era. Both of these time eras are considered to be the peak, and I also have this quote from Serge Nubret. Serge Nubret is a bodybuilder from this time. He competed in several Mr. Olympias, and the quote says, bodybuilding is not only a sport, but first an art. So what I inferred from this while reading this quote, I may have looked a little bit too much into it, but what I felt was that they treated their bodies like the Greek artists treated marble. And I felt that this time era of bodybuilding was influenced a lot by the Greeks, as they focused a lot on balance and symmetry and not so much on the size of the muscles, not so much on looking real massive, intimidating kind of looks. And the pictures that I have is a picture from the bronze Zeus. We don't know if he's holding a lightning bolt or a spear, but he has that outward arm motion as if he was about to throw a baseball kind of thing. Um, Again, we have to keep in mind that both of these guys have very different purposes. Zeus is a god striking down those who oppose the gods or try to interfere with the god's way. Arnold is just a bodybuilder who's trying to show off his muscles at best for magazines and competition purposes or whatever. So both have very different purposes in their societies. But as we can see, they both have that torso facing towards the viewer kind of perspective that we see, and they both have that outward arm motion, except that Arnold is flexing and Zeus is throwing what we believe to be either a spear or a lightning bolt or something like that him as a god would possess. So the importance of this is that all of these um, artworks that were created from marble and all of these bodybuilders, they all sought balance and symmetry in both their physiques and their poses. They wanted everything to appear that it belonged where it needed to be. As this discus thrower, he wasn't overly massive. He was very athletic looking, as he was an athlete, and I felt that's what these bodybuilders were trying to create, as Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the year 1975. As opposed to now, in modern time, this is Rolly Winkler. In 2019, they try to have that massive look where it's not as proportionate, not as symmetrical, and a whole lot more. I guess you could call it intimidating. This like massive giant look as opposed to like a balanced, symmetrical, athletic look. Another quote I have from our textbook that we read throughout this course was, his aim was to impose order on human movement, to make it beautiful, to perfect it. And that was when they were referring to the artists that did Doryphorus, or canon as we referred to it throughout the semester. And the same goes for Steve Reeves over here and the bodybuilders of this era. So it seems that the goal of Polykleitos when creating Doryphorus seems like it could very well fit the objectives of the golden era bodybuilders. And then Steve Reeves over here says, we should try not only to build a balanced life, but also a balanced physique. This is how we know that they try to be as balanced as possible. They try to make sure that everything goes where it belongs, try to have the most perfect look as well as the Greeks did, that we learned from the crash course video that we viewed in class during our lecture. And like all art periods, the golden era eventually came to an end. The late golden era featured more twisting and spiraling composition, much more bending in the spine, knees, and stretching of the rib cage. The late golden era athletes shared much more traits of a Hellenistic artwork compared to the early golden era that shared classical Greek traits. As we can see here, this poser over here is simulating sort of what I feel is an inspiration from the artwork Laocoon, him and his children getting eaten by snakes or tortured by snakes. They both have that kind of like that stretching of the rib cage, that exaggerated twisting movement, a lot more bend in the legs, a lot more dramatic, I guess you could refer to it as. And to conclude with you guys, what I felt that I learned during this assignment and during the analysis of these pictures and everything was that there was a lot more, almost like of a direct imitation of these artworks. And I felt that because the Greeks tried so hard to simulate perfection and what perfect balance seems like, or as Stalin refers to it, perfectly balanced is all things should be. That's what the Greeks were striving towards, and that's what I felt these bodybuilders were striving towards as well, imitating many of their poses and many of their ideas as a society. This is just my timesheet from the amount of work that I put into it. I hope that everyone learned something from this video, or if not, they just reinforced what they learned throughout the semester prior to taking this course.